What an amazing Socket 7 build here. A 233 MMX Pentium, Diamond Monster 3D Voodoo 1 powdered in SDRAM V2, 64 megabytes of SDRAM, Sound Blaster Vibra 16. Surely, this would be the perfect machine for Windows 95. But screw that, it's DOSCember. We're gonna instead test this machine using DOS. Today on Ancient Pixels, we're going to be talking about this Socket 7 PC. I put this machine together back in August of this year. I originally was building this to recreate the machine I had as a young kid of the beginning of the 2000s, a Gateway 2000 with a Pentium MMX 233. This machine soon turned into something way more advanced than that. I've since added a PC MIDI card, an Ethernet card, and of course, a 3DFX Voodoo 1. The first successful 3D accelerator come out in the late 90s. The machine I had as a kid never had a 3D accelerator, so I was stuck with games running in software mode which either ran like turtle crap or didn't launch at all. The few games I was able to get back then in stores were much newer than this era of computing, so later games didn't run so well, especially when talking about software mode. However, we were sure exactly the games that came out during the years of 1995 through 1999, which would be times when a build like this was ideal for PC gaming. Oh yeah, I almost forgot to mention I have this nice, lovely Sony CD drive, which, unlike the normal trailer loading type of CD drives, yes, slide loading. That is pretty cool. Wish they made Blu-ray drives like this for like modern PCs like this one right here. Honestly. And from this point forward, I think we're gonna switch directly to direct capture now. Now, like I said, since this is DOSCember, we will only show games that can be installed and run under DOS. Any game that requires Windows 95 or higher to run or even install will be left out of the video. If you're wondering why Redguard isn't on the video, well, that's why. You need Windows 95 to even run the installer, and its data files are also locked behind the installer. Being a Socket 7 build at 4 speed, it's fast enough to handle the latest games of 1997, 1998, and early 1999. At 4 speed, it can still run games like Jazz Jackrabbit and The Lion King, and most other games perfectly fine. With L1 cache disabled, it'd be slowed down to the speed of a mid-range 486. Great for games like Incredible Machine, and games that have issues with sound initialization, such as this port of Space Ace and Jumpstart Kindergarten. Turning off both caches, the machine is slow enough to play earlier Sierra and Dynamics titles without any possible speed issues. This also allows games like Dark Ages, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and Bubble Baller to launch and play properly. Although Dark Ages does have an issue where the second time launching gives a crash like this can be avoided using the SetMUL Utility. At the slowest settings while your BIOS still has all the caches switched off. This SetMUL Utility gives us a lot of extra benefits, even with all the BIOS caches turned all the way up. At medium-high, the beta of LameDuke, the rate of firing weapons is actually proper instead of like being fast as a cheetah. While at the slowest settings, Ultima 7 runs beautifully without any issues whatsoever with speed. Just as you expect from a CPU like this, games like Duke Nukem 3D runs excellent, even when running at 640x400 in Visa mode.
get some.
MDK is another late MS-DOS title, and at 640 by 480 the game looks rather nice. The software renderer actually runs pretty rare with this game on this machine. Flight Unlimited is perfectly playable and looks really nice at a software rendered 1024 by 768 resolution. At 640 by 480 in software mode, Grand Theft Auto runs alright. But at 3DFX Glide mode at 800 by 600, it's even better. NASCAR Racing 2 gives alright frame rates at 640 by 480. It should be noted that this is the only game to use UniVBE that we're showing in this test. All previous games were using S3 VBE instead. Extreme Assault is one of those few games where even at 640 by 480 in software mode, the game is still perfectly playable. But you gotta admit the 3DFX Glide version looks and runs way smoother and better. Hi-Octane is a pretty interesting combat racer, which I wished I've heard of back in the day. At 640 by 480, the game actually runs quite alright on this machine. At 640 by 400, the software version of Quake actually plays quite well on this machine. Tomb Raider is a great example to show off the 3DFX card. In software mode at 640 by 480, the game runs like a slideshow at the 10s. But 3DFX, the game stays at a constant 30 frames per second, and there's nice texture filtering, which makes the game look really nice. Just like with Tomb Raider, Scream Morale is another one of those games where the 3DFX mode is preferred. Frame rates of like 10s and below in 640 by 480 software mode. Perfect 30 frames per second goodness with the 3DFX Glide card at 640 by 480. Although not using a true 3D engine, Chasm The Rift looks really nice at 640 by 400 and has better models than Quake. The animation quality is also impressive. We saved the newest game for last, PYL from 1999, released in Poland. PYL is one of the most demanding games ever released for DOS. The system requirements ask for 133 MHz Pentium with 32 MB of RAM, but look how badly the software renderer runs in a Pentium MMX 233 with 64 MB of RAM. The best way to play this game is with a 3DFX card like the Voodoo 1 or Voodoo 2. with the Voodoo 1 glide mode enabled, we not only get like better frame rates, but also we get like more advanced effects, like this blowing effect when you die. Or this detailed texture close-up that mimics the one used in Unreal. As you can see from this graph, this machine is extremely powerful and fast. Running the Superscape VGA benchmark, we get an extremely high frame rate of 165 frames per second average. As we run this benchmark of Doom here, we can see that this game is breezing through really fast. (2134 game ticks and 914 real ticks. Running the Quake benchmark, we get 51.9 frames per second at 320 by 200, 640 by 400 gives us 19.7, and 640 by 480, 16.7 frames per second at average. With PC Player benchmark, we get 22.9 frames per second average with the VBE drivers, but 19.2 frames average without the VBE drivers at 640 by 480. By comparison, if we were to run the PC Player benchmark at 320 by 200, we get an average frame rate of 58.6 frames per second average. Well, that's it for my video on my Socket 7 Pentium MMX build running purely in DOS. I had a lot of fun putting this machine together, and I'm hoping to put together another ancient gaming PC next year. I've already been using this as a proper Windows 95 machine, and I'll probably make future videos with this machine running strictly under Windows 95, as this has been my retro gaming PC of my choice for a good while now. I've always wanted a PC that was close to the one I grew up with. This has been Ancient Pixels, and I'll end the video right here with my Socket 7 machine running the demo, Nature by Vertigo, under 3DFX glide mode in DOS. Bye for now.